We are nearly a year and a half into this pandemic. No one could have foreseen the tremendous impact this virus would have on our social lives, mental health, and everyday freedoms we often took for granted. The interviews and stories that you are going to hear are from real people all around the world. Although each story is unique in many ways, they all share a common theme. They all share one of survival. These are the first-hand accounts of life in lockdown. These are the Quarantine Chronicles.
This is the Quarantine Chronicles, hosted by Justice Hall.
All right, everybody, well, welcome back to another episode of the Quarantine Chronicles. Have a special guest in the building, none other than my big sister. Welcome to the show. So today we're going to be talking with Vunda. So can you tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, my name is Vunda, and I am his oldest sister of 6, and I have 7 children of my own. Also married, be 24 years this year, and I am excited to be here on his show today. So this is pretty cool. And that's about it.
All right. So where are you at, and what do you do for a living?
Oh, okay. That's easy. I reside currently in Gulf Breeze, Florida. And at the moment present, I am a stay-at-home mom as well as a ministry facilitator. I travel back and forth to Texas and Tennessee, helping women, regain their stability in life and in their spiritual walk with Christ. I'm a part of It's Already Done Ministries, and we are a nonprofit organization that's, we're in our infancy stage. We're growing, getting some things done, shaking some things loose. So being a stay-at-home mom is actually beneficial for me, that it allows me to travel and do what I need to do in order to help the ministry grow.
So with regards to traveling, are there restrictions between states that you have to be aware of, or is the standards pretty much the same? Because I know in some states they're a little more lax when it comes to wearing masks than they are in other states, or is it pretty much standard across the board?
Well, welcome to Florida, because here in Florida, like when you hear hurricanes, we're pretty much pulling out the barbecue grills and just chilling. There's it's not really a threat for us. We're more laid back when it comes to a lot of things. So here, if you would imagine the wearing of the mask and the restrictions that most states are adhering to, not so much. When we travel like through Louisiana, Texas, and when we've gone to California, they're not going to even let you come into the stores or the restaurants without a mask. It's kind of like no shoes, no shirt, no service. It's the same principle when we travel outside of Florida. So yes, and then hand sanitizer, the wearing of the gloves and stuff when you're at the pumps and whatnot. I make sure that we're, the kids and myself, that we wash our hands using sanitize, we sanitize. And like I said, when we're at the pumps, we have gloves or whatever, so that, we don't want to carry nothing to nobody, and we don't want to bring anything home. So
is that in Florida, or just when you go outside, or are you doing that as standard practice, even though you're in Florida, or is that just when you're traveling outside of the state?
Well, in Florida, we do use the sanitizing with the hands and whatnot. But when we travel outside of Florida, it's mostly when we're traveling outside of Florida, because here in Florida, I'm mostly local. If I'm getting gas, it's my local gas station or, whatever. I don't do too much outside of my town. It's a pretty small area, and basically where everybody knows your name type of situation. So yes, it's one of those things where locally we do hand sanitizer and we wash our hands, but outside of the state we do wear gloves as well as sanitize.
Are you wearing masks personally in Florida, even though the rules are
The
lax?
atmosphere is lax. Yes, yes, I require that my family do wear masks because of the simple fact that people are still nasty. There's still a lot going on around in the areas and whatnot. It's a high tourist area. So we do get a lot of people traveling into this area. We live like a little bit away from the beaches. And so we're constantly with people coming in and out of here. So for safety's sake, we do wear masks when we go like to stores and to restaurants and whatnot. Not so much anymore to church, again, because everybody is doing, we do have a lot of high sanitation practice where they literally, after every services, we spray. Everything is being sanitized down. Even in the stores, everything is sanitized down. You can go grab a cart, it's wet because everything is sprayed down. So even though we're lax on on the mask procedures, we are very high on the sanitizing literally everything. Like you can't go anywhere without something being wet from them spraying it down and
I hope
whatnot.
it's because they're spraying down and not because somebody's sneezing on it.
Yeah, no. When you get the card, they literally didn't just sanitize it and then they'll give it to you. They make it a priority. And is it too loud? Because I am outside and the windows are down.
No,
So I just want to.
no, it's
Okay.
fine. So when it comes to wearing the mask, so do you said you make your family wear the mask. Do you believe that they actually have an impact? Or is it just, okay, I'm going through the motions, but I don't really think the mask does anything to protect us?
To be honest, and I know that you're airing this, so I do apologize in advance
No,
for what
speak
I'm
your
about to
mind.
say.
Trust me, I've
But
interviewed a couple of people, and so the
but
opinions vary across different stages.
my thing is, anything Trump is for, I am completely against for the most part because of just the defiance. A lot of people a lot of Trump supporters, in my opinion, have been defiant against just, I get it. It's uncomfortable. You don't like having to wear it, but for the safety and until we can know for sure that everybody is good and everybody's doing what they need to do, wear the mask. Just wear it just out of principle of nothing else. But when the masks were required, like across the board, across every state, there were a lot of supporters who just, I'm not going to wear it because that goes against my, American rights. And it's just like, for my safety, for my peace of mind, can you just wear the mask? To keep peace, to keep down confusion. And there's just so many people that are just combatant, and it's not necessary, in my opinion. It really isn't to just be argumentative about it. Now, when it's safe and like I say, and I guess in a lot of ways, then they have the vaccines where people are going and getting a shot. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting the shot until I absolutely have to. Because everything was so mass rush. Everything was just rushed. Let's get the shot, get the shot, get the shot. And there are a lot of side effects. A lot of people have died from it. Just people have still gotten sick even after getting the shot. So it's just so much controversy. The mask versus not wearing the mask, the shot versus not taking the shot. It's more out of principle at this point.
Well, I think a lot of people, especially when it comes to the vaccine, are a little more hesitant. And I just saw on the news either today or yesterday that the number of people even that have gotten the first shot, a lot of them are not going back for the second shot. So the number, they have more supply than demand, whereas before it was more demand than supply. And people are like, okay, let me just pump my brakes, because like you say, there are some people that have had adverse side effects. They stopped producing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which I think they may be getting back to starting it back up and everything like that. So a lot of people are apprehensive. And then especially in the Black community, because of all of the history of, them using us as guinea pigs. And I can't remember who it was, but somebody said, hey, we need to test these out in Africa. let's test these vaccines out in Africa. So if they die, who cares? They're Africans. So there's a lot of apprehension in the Black community simply because of the history of, us being the target of, well, let's see if it works on them. And if it works on them, then we'll mass produce it.
Move forward.
Yeah. So I think, but as long as you're still taking some safety precautions, the sanitizer, the mask, and everything like that, the vaccine aspect, like you say, as I see more results and more, okay, all right, now let's take that next step. Okay. So what about your daily routine? You say you don't really travel or operate very much outside of Gulf Breeze. So what does your daily routine look like during this time?
Well, to be honest, I have traveled more since this COVID thing has taken place than I have ever in my entire life, I think, because before the COVID pandemic took place, like I said, I became a part of the ministry. It's Already Done Ministries and whatnot. That started out as a birthday celebration, and now it has stemmed into so much more. And because it's the home base is in Texas, it requires me to travel back and forth to Texas. And I've literally gone to Texas at least a good 10 times since this whole pandemic thing has taken place. And a lot of people would say, well, how can you travel like that with all of these, different things happening and whatnot? Because even before the pandemic, I felt it necessary to be cautious, watching your hands, sanitizing, being safe. Don't walk around with no shoes on, just different things, being safe. So I feel like even like when you clean your house and whatnot, if you keep your house clean, when you have guests come over, you're not running to try to get your house clean because the house stay clean. So it's the same thing with the whole sanitizing and travel and whatnot. If you're already practicing to be safe, then when you travel or do anything outside of your home, it's commonplace. You don't feel awkward. You don't feel like you're doing too much. So my daily routine has been here as of late, getting ready for the next trip. Like literally with my kids getting older and whatnot, we're constantly going somewhere, be it to a track meet or like now I now got adult children, going to visit with them, this graduation, that graduation. So here, as of, like I said, as of late, my daily routine is just
planning
preparing for the next, for the next journey, next outing. What we finna do next? What's going on? I haven't had to think about it so much prior to this, but like I said, now that my kids are growing and getting out of the house, it's like, what's next? What's the next step? What's the next, adventure that we're gonna be on and whatnot? So, and then like I said, and I just keep preparing my kids. Like if you stay doing right now, you're not having to try to get right later.
So basically, the lockdown has brought freedom for you. Yeah. Well, everybody else is closing in and isolating. You're like, I'm branching out. I'm free.
Yeah.
And so, but still taking those precautions and stuff. So, really, has there been any negative impact with regards to the lockdown?
Well, you get a lot of people that got comments to say, like I said, because we have traveled a lot, and I've had a lot of pushback where people will say, how can you do that? How can you put your family at risk? Oh my God, that's not safe, and this and that and the other. But I did the things, I've done the things that I've done, not to put anybody at risk or to be like, oh, nah, look at us. No, it was just a normal movement, something that was already set in motion to do anyway. We just kept moving forward. And my faith is in God completely. And it's not a matter of testing my faith. It's just a matter of, I didn't think about it, to be honest. I didn't worry about it. It wasn't nothing that was a concern for me. Because like I said, if you're already doing what you need to do to stay safe, when that requirement comes just a little bit more required, it's not a hard move to make. It's not frustrating to you because it's something that you're already doing. something that you're already prepared to keep going with. So us traveling and doing the things that we've needed to do, God is really blessed, because he's blessed financially. He blessed, spiritually, mentally, and in every other way. We've been able to go and do what we needed to do with no stress, with no worries. Had the anointing or whatever, and not to make this a spiritual show or anything, had there been some pushback where in my heart I feel like, oh no, we probably should make that trip, then I would probably pause. But just hearing people comments and things that they have to say, it doesn't move me, because like I said, I'm doing what I would have normally did and I would have done anyway. Whether the pandemic happened or not, everything that we've done would have been doing it anyway. We just
so the mentally you've been able to remain fairly strong. One, because of your prior practice of sanitation and safety and health and everything like that, and also, your spirituality and faith.
Yep.
Okay. So I think a lot of people, they run to the spiritual side and believe that everything has to be seen as a spiritual, combat. And so I don't have to do anything in the natural, because the spirit got me, and so I think that's a lot of the problem with, like you were talking about, with the Trump supporters. A lot of them were resistant, and even some of the televangelists were saying that, this pandemic is over, COVID, I blow on you and you're done and everything. Like, it's like, come on. There's faith,
be smart,
and then there's being reasonable and rational. And so there's believe in whatever higher power that you want to believe in, because I interviewed another woman from Pakistan, and she's Muslim. And so she basically had that same mindset, is I'm following the protocols. I'm following the procedures that are put in place. However, I still maintain my faith in my God.
Yeah.
And so you have to have that balance. Believe in your higher power, but also do the natural things, the sensible things, to not endanger someone else. Because you may believe, but that doesn't affect, COVID doesn't care about your belief. It's going to affect you, and you might go and infect someone else, even though you're saying, I'm believing in God. So that's the good thing. All right. So do you think that we will ever get back to normal life? And if so, when?
What does normal look like? What is normal? Because I think for the whole premise behind, I think what really fueled the pandemic was fear. A lot of people were just completely afraid, because those that stayed indoors, they stayed indoors out of fear. But then there were people who stayed indoors, never came out, and still got sick. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of things is stemmed by fear. And if we cannot allow fear to be our guide, our go-to, I think normal will be possible. Getting back to just, hey, how you doing? We won't be afraid to high five anymore. We won't be afraid to give the hug. We won't be afraid to just not even so much physically touch, but be in the presence of other people. Like when we went to Disney World this past week, there were times when we'd be standing in the lines, and they have on the ground where the lines were set 6 feet apart. So your group was supposed to be 6 feet from the group in front of you or the group behind you. You were supposed to be standing 6 feet. There's supposed to be gaps. But because the lines were so long and the time took forever, there was many times when the groups just blurred together, because we were just like cattle, just moving along, and everybody was just like, but there was one point where we were in a line, and there was just one guy, an older guy in the line, and we kind of just not even paying attention, just kind of merged into where he was, and he turns around and looks at us, and you need to step back, you're too close, you need to step 6 feet. And all the 4 days that we had been there, that was the first time that we ever had anybody give us attitude about us being close to them. And so it definitely is just a mindset of each individual, how you think and how you carry yourself, and just not having that attitude of fear or that attitude of just being, nasty to people, then I think being normal or whatever that looks like is more possible, more prevalent, because we're not afraid to just be around each other again,
Yeah, I mean, I agree. There's a level of fear, but I think it's, to a certain extent, is reasonable because we don't know how it's going to affect one person to the other.
Yeah.
Someone can be asymptomatic. Another person could have like some shivers. Another person can be just broken down and aches and pains and can't move and taste food and everything like that. And then others, the far end of the spectrum, die.
Yeah.
And so I think the fact that we don't know, the uncertainty, is what fuels a lot of that fear. And so I think the people that are less afraid and more, okay, it is what it is. You live, you die, whatever. If those people were just aware and taken into account, okay, I may not be afraid, but I still need to take steps to make sure that I'm not infringing on someone else and I'm not projecting onto someone else. Now, you don't want the crazies that are like, hey, I'm gonna just come and spray you in the face with Lysol and sanitizer and all that stuff.
Yeah, we've had that one. Yeah, we've had that.
You don't want that extreme, but okay, let me at least respect the boundary and give you that space and let you come to your own sense of peace and everything like that. So, I mean, it's good that people are, one, not as resistant as they were before. There's still a lot of resistant people, but more people are understanding, okay, all right, let me just back up, at least wear the step back 6 feet and everything like that, and not go crazy in on everyone that are wearing a mask, even though you have some, and not to turn it political, you have some people in positions of power telling people to take their masks off.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem when we're not adding value to the conversation.
No.
Which is why in many of the first world countries, the pandemic is prolonged and sometimes even getting worse because you have dueling sides. Those who say, okay, let's comply for a little bit of time so we can get back to normal life. And those that say, no, I'm free, I'm an American, I'm a Brit, whatever first world country it is, these are my rights, I'm not going to wear a mask. And I think that is why you have some fear in some regards and prolonged pandemic in other. Looking forward, what would be your message to people to kind of help them get through the remainder of however long we have left in this pandemic?
Well, like I said, even though you said that fear is justified, but fear should not be your go-to, should not be your ride or die. Realize that in everything, even when we had the flu, when we had the smallpox, when we had all these other different tragedies that we've survived through, that we've come. Yes, we've had a lot of loss in the trial and error, but overall we overcame and we're moving on and we're pressing forward. So, and moving forward, look to those days of deliverance that we're not going to stay here forever. Like, this is not going to be our normal situation, but while we're in it, like you said, respect each other, respect my decision to travel and go and do what I need to do, as I'm going to respect your decision to stay at home. Don't be combatant with each other's beliefs, and realize that everybody's going to do what they're going to do. But at the end of the day, when we govern ourselves as individuals and how we carry ourselves, what we do, what we say, and how we are to other people in the public, just respecting other people's decisions can make a difference and can make this thing go a lot smoother, because it doesn't make no sense for you to spray me just because I cough. I have allergies. Right now, I sound like I smoke 10 packs a day. And this time of the season, allergies. So I'm a cough or I'm a sneeze. It doesn't mean I have COVID. But as a person that knows that I have allergies, and if I cough or sneeze, someone may be concerned because of the current situation, I have to be mindful of that. And I have to govern myself accordingly, like cover my mouth or keep my mask on or not go out when it's really bad. You know what I'm saying? So as individuals, we need to be mindful of what we do that could cause someone harm or cause someone concern. Brother, I know that it's allergies, but the person in front of me may not, you know? So out of respect for them, I need to cover my face, or I need to stay at home if my allergies are really bad or whatever the case be. And allow people to heal from, because this has been really hard for a lot of loss of jobs, loss of loved ones, loss of finances. There's been a lot of loss during this pandemic. And if we can all just get to the point where we can just, I don't know what's the best word for it. Just take into account what others have gone through, walk in someone else's shoes, then maybe we'll be a little bit more patient. Yeah. And just, just be understanding and not allow how someone else is feeling to make you feel some type of way. You may not agree with their emotions or what they're going through, but you don't have to come against them because of how they feel. You know what I'm saying? So just be a little bit more understanding of each other. And I think moving forward, getting to normal is more of a possibility than we think.
Yeah. As an individual, what are the simple things? Because it's not anything that we enjoy doing, but it's a small inconvenience.
Yeah.
If I can impose a small inconvenience on myself that has a potentially large impact, then as an individual, let me inconvenience myself so slightly for the greater good. As a community, and that's why I'm doing these videos, is because I want people to understand that we're in this together, whether we want to believe it or not. Whether you believe the masks are useless or not, whether you believe the pandemic, COVID-19 is phony and doctored up by this political party or that political party, regardless of what your thoughts and feelings are, you may encounter someone that is part of your group. Well, I can't listen to you. I can't believe you because you said it. All right, well, here's somebody else who looks like you. Here's somebody else who has the same beliefs as you, who has the same political party as you, from the same country as you, so on and so forth. Yeah. So I'm getting people's perspective from all over the world. And there are similarities between all those stories. And so by listening to these different stories, hopefully, the ones that are resistant, that don't want to be a part of the community, will let down that wall, let down that resistance and that freaking stubbornness, and say, I'm going to inconvenience myself so slightly for the greater good.
Yeah. It's a positive when you just take a few minutes, like I say, and just think about someone else for just a moment, how someone else might feel, because those people that are around you, even, and I know there are people that are in my friend group who are deathly terrified. They're like really afraid. And so that fear, knowing that fear, then I know I can't do anything to cause them more anxiety, cause them more distress. So if it means that if I go out of town and I come back and I quarantine from them for a little while, then that's what I need to do to keep peace. Whereas I have other friends like, girl, you back in town? I'll be over in about 10 minutes, and then they come over and we're good. But at any rate, wherever I feel like I need to pull back or pull forward, as individuals, we need to make those decisions and be cognizant of other people and how they feel or what they may be going through, because you don't know at the end their backstory. So until you've been where they've been, you can't judge. So that's a big takeaway, is don't judge someone else's issue or concern if you don't know what's going on in their heart.
Good point. All right. So I thank you for joining the show and coming on and sharing your story and imparting your words of wisdom with us. Thank you very much, Vunda.
Well, thank you for having me.
I would like to thank all of the wonderful and brave people who have trusted me with their stories. Although there are billions of people on this planet, the past year and a half has made many of us feel alone and isolated. My hope is that by sharing our tragedies and triumphs, we can begin to reconnect and understand that we are not in this alone and that we are all in this together. If you would like to be a part of the Quarantine Chronicles community and share your story, click on the interview scheduler in the link description below. Winston Churchill said, "If you're going through hell, keep going." We're not going to let this pandemic beat us. Let's keep pressing and keep progressing. Justice done.